say, oh, you shouldn't do that with a guitar amp or a bass amp. And I just kind of think, well, why shouldn't you? If I do that and it makes a sound which I think is good and artists think is good, then I'm going to do it. Because ultimately the point of making these things is to make an amplifier that inspires people.
It's quite rare for me to find a piece of equipment that actually inspires you to play better or differently or approach things in a certain way. I mean, that's a gift really for any artist.
It's that playability, that sort of, you can immediately get something that's musical and sort of got a good tone to it.
The flexibility of that's amazing.
The idea behind the bass chopper was to try and make a bass amp which sounded clear, which cut through, but didn't necessarily have to be super, super loud to do that. I had a conversation with Alan Moulder about the way that he struggles to sit bass in mixes, and he said he often has to reamp it and give it a bit of drive so that it sits forward and it's not way back in the mix. So the idea was, not just because of that, but because of the way that I like things to sound anyway, was to try and make something which, again, the transient was quite clear and not soft and smeared like it is on quite a few bass amps that I've listened to, and something that represented the instrument as well, not just sounding like an amp, but a reproduction of the instrument and the person that's playing it. The bass chopper has two preamps. The first preamp has just a simple gain and a Baxandall type EQ with boost and cut on both the bass and the treble side. The second preamp is a bit more traditional bass middle treble EQ, and it also has a master volume on there. There's the switch, which means that you can inject the output of the first preamp into the input of the second preamp and cascade them so that you can get interesting breakup and distortion. Because I like distortion so much, and I'm always interested in trying to push things further than maybe is acceptable, I decided to let the distortion on the bass amp go into completely ridiculous territory. Tube sync is a board which sits in the amp, which is computer driven, which means that you don't have to worry about biasing the output valves. And it will also protect the amp in event of a tube failure. Attention to detail is everything with these amps. It comes down to the direction of every wire in the amp. It comes down to each component working as it should. The amps, to me, are not just mechanical things. It's all tied up in emotion and, you know, in the way that music is, because they're almost instruments in themselves.
And that eureka moment hits you like a cop car, and you wake up just head and shoulders in a glass